Hi, this is Donald here, and this is my review of Owning Your Own Shadow by Robert A. Johnson. Owning Your Own Shadow is a psychology book which focuses on the dark side of the human physique. When you hear human physique and dark side, you might be thinking this might be kind of a heavy, dark, brooding kind of book, but it's actually a very optimistic book, surprisingly. As has been the trend for me personally the last couple years, I bought this book used. The hardcover copies is nothing special, but really quickly noticed that this is a small book. I count 118 pages, and that's with small pages, big font, and pretty wide margins. I ended up reading this book in about 2 or 3 days, and I was taking my sweet time as well. You could definitely read this in a day if you're up for it. Now, Owning Your Own Shadow, the book describes two sides in every human being, kind of a battle between good and evil. And as a culture and society, I think we embrace the goodness and work towards it. But the book argues that what we really need to find is balance. Now, that doesn't mean, half the time you're good and half the time you're just beating up on people or something. It just means that no matter how good we are, that evil side or the dark side within us, it's still there. We are suppressing it, but it needs to be respected and let out once in a while. And when we really suppress this dark side, that is when it'll come out at the worst times. Towards people we love, violence, war, shouting at people, throwing stuff, punching holes in walls. It's when that dark side comes out. And only when we can balance both, where we can strive to live virtuous lives, but also recognize the need and the beauty of having this very human, imperfect side to us. Only when we can recognize that is when we can become enlightened in a spiritual sense. And when we are enlightened or spiritually elevated, that is when we become whole. And really, the book is advocating for us to become whole. The author is clearly religious in this book and very sympathetic towards really all religions. The author is very passionate about his faith and is not ashamed of it, and he really boldly declares what he believes is true and uses plenty of religious examples in his writing. I never was put off by any of it, actually. I thought it was all perfectly suited to his point. Robert E. Johnson, while he's talking to the reader, the audience, I also feel that he's also talking even to himself when he's writing this book. As in, he understands that even he has to struggle against this. But rather than struggling, he needs to accept it. And he started to accept it, and he wants us to accept it. And he's almost kind of reflecting on his own struggles in life. Another point the author makes is that when we suppress our shadow, sometimes they can unfortunately come out and be projected on someone else. Which means rather than focusing on our own issues and accepting ourselves for our weaknesses, we kind of deify other people or look at other people as being perfect and really not who they are. And that is a way to stunt our own personal growth. Now, we don't want to control. The book isn't talking about controlling our shadow, but it's to accept it so we can become whole and healed from the conflict within ourselves. If this is a teeter-totter, we want to have both feet, one on each side, so it'll slightly swing back and forth, but in general, we are balanced, rather than just always being on one side and it's swinging really far the other side back and forth. Would I recommend this book? Yes, I would recommend this book, and I am going to read it again in probably a couple of months, probably just like a speed read, and I will keep reading it throughout the years. It spoke to me in a really deep way that I honestly can't really understand yet. I don't really understand yet. I don't think the religious aspects of this book will be off-putting if you aren't religious at all. And I think the author is very powerful and poignant with his writing. It's really short and gets the point across. There are a lot of books that are really good, like Don Quixote, Herodotus, but are also very long. And these kind of books, while I would like to reread them, it's just an effort to go back to them. They're just so long. But this is a book that I'm definitely going back to over and over again. Thanks, and that concludes my review of Owning Your Own Shadow. If you agree or disagree, please tell me in the comment section below and let me know what you think. Thanks.